Hello, all. Today I am doing a presentation that talks about an entertainment law update podcast. The podcast is by Gordon Firemark, Esquire. Although the podcast talks about many things that are very important today, I am focusing on the topics that include trademarks and copyright issues. Listening to all of the many ways that copyright and trademark can go wrong or be denied was a very interesting concept to explore. So let's get started. The first topic that was discussed for a trademark issue is a case that was open for about 8 years with a band that was called the Slants. The Asian American band wanted to take back the once derogatory word and claim it as their own. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office refused to let the band register the name on account that the name was disparaging. The issue in the question of the whole entire case is whether or not the PTO can deny a name for being trademarked because of their thoughts on the name. If they can, that denial also shows that they can deny the band's right to freedom of speech. This is still an ongoing case, and the Slants have not been granted the legal right to their name. However, if they do not win the case, they will still be able to use their name and have some trademarks to it, but will not be fully and legally protected. The next issue that was brought up in the podcast is the movie hub IMDb and their wants to disregard the enforcement of the new law that does not allow the displaying of an actor's age on the site, if not wanted by the actor. An unnamed actor in the podcast actually complained about the age being listed on the IMDb because it allows age discrimination for actors and therefore stops some actors, particularly women, from receiving jobs. However, Gordon did mention something very good. I really did like the way he expressed himself on this one. IMDb allows directors and casting to know the ages of actors and therefore cast accordingly. He made it very clear that people should have the right to know how old an actor is. Because, as we all know, actors, especially women actors or child actors, do lie about their age in order to get certain jobs. As of right now, the ages have been taken down until further notice. Last but certainly not least, my personal favorite topic on the podcast was about how a restaurant called the Krusty Krab that is in the works. Now, this restaurant, it's actually a fictional fast food restaurant that comes from the show SpongeBob SquarePants. After so many years of the show being on the air, Viacom has now decided to trademark the rights to the name and restaurant because an enterprise is now interested in building a restaurant centered around, the fictional restaurant in the show. I absolutely love this idea personally. I would definitely like to visit if they ever did get it rolling. However, the enterprise is now being sued by Nickelodeon, and this actually started maybe a year ago and it's still in the works because they feel that the customers will be confused. Now, in the podcast, they did mention that it would be nice to know that when you're going to the Krusty Krab to get a Krabby Patty, that it had some type of relation to Nickelodeon's SpongeBob SquarePants. If it didn't, then it does not make sense. However, a lot of people think, like me anyway, would enjoys to still go, but Nickelodeon feels that the customers would be confused and therefore disappointed if it does not correlate. So the big question is, how can I use these cases and the knowledge in the future? Some of the most important issues in the podcast really taught me all of the different ways that copyright and trademarking can become a messy business, but still very necessary. When one waits too long to copyright or trademark a name or a business, it can bring a hassle to an already stressful situation. It is also very important to know your rights when dealing with the PTO, and to be very careful when you are trademarking. Although I feel like the slants have a very great case against the PTO and the name that they would like to trademark, I also think that the PTO have a right to deny the name due to the derogatory statement in itself. I feel that they are looking out for themselves in the future, and if they allow this name to be trademarked, there are going to be many more cases that will form where people want to trademark and capitalize off of other derogatory words. Overall, this was the most interesting podcast that I've ever listened to, especially about entertainment law, and I would definitely be tuning in for more great information in the future. I definitely have some references here just in case anyone wants to look back and see where I got any of my information from. And I thank you so much for listening to my podcast. Have a great night.